Well, U.S. prosecutors want the death penalty in the Colorado theater shooting case. Suspect James Holmes offered to plead guilty last week if they would take the death penalty off the table. Holmes's attorneys have suggested that they will argue that he was insane.
James Holmes is charged with shooting dead 12 people and injuring at least 70 last year at a screening of the Batman film The Dark Knight Rises. Prosecutors have rejected a plea bargain by Holmes' lawyers to avoid execution.
Thomas, it happened within 10 minutes, and during that time, the DA announced that they would be seeking the death penalty against James Holmes, who had no visible reaction to that announcement. The DA said for James Egan Holmes, justice is death. He said that his office spoke with 800 family members of victims before making that decision. It was widely speculated that it would go that way because in a court filing last week, prosecutors said it was extremely unlikely that they would accept a plea deal that was offered by the defense. In that deal, Holmes would plead guilty and spend the rest of his life in jail, avoiding execution. Prosecutors said they haven't been given details they need to consider a plea. They also accused the defense of violating a gag order by making the plea in a court filing and said that it was not a good faith offer. Now, they can still accept a plea deal later on.
Outside the court, Brian Beard, whose best friend was killed in the attack, welcomed the prosecutor's decision.
My original thought was thank goodness. I'm so happy this is happening. I've said this once, and this is the last time I'll say it. The only way death will receive justice when somebody murders somebody else is death. I guess you fight fire with fire. It sounds awful, but I'm tired of being so politically correct. You know, if somebody takes an eye, you can't just be like, oh, slap on the wrist. You can't.
Now that the suspect could face the death penalty, defense lawyers agree it could take longer to bring Holmes's case to trial. Initially scheduled for August, it has now been pushed back to February 2014. Meanwhile, Colorado has introduced new gun legislation. It will impose limits on the size of ammunition magazines and expand background checks for gun buyers. President Barack Obama is scheduled to visit the state on Wednesday to highlight the bill as part of a campaign for national gun control.
The big question is whether we will get to that. The district attorney spoke to a large number of those who survived that shooting, some of the relatives of the victims as well. There's not much appetite amongst them to sit through a trial. They've already sat through a lot of harrowing evidence about what happened last July, but some of them do want to see the death penalty. There is a sense, I think, that there will be negotiations. Colorado has only executed one person in the last 30 years. There are only 3 people on death row there. The feeling is that Holmes won't face the death penalty because this simply won't get to a trial. He will accept his guilt and will spend the rest of his life in prison.